fine. It's
one thing I was thinking as far as the boys, if we each came up like with like your question, Rachel, you could lead it.
Yeah.
Your question, you could lead it.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Good.
And the other
That way
we can be
talking on
sitting,
each
but
other.
like it's her question, she's guiding.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Kind of like.
That sounds good.
I want to ask something about girls. Like if you.
Oh, Parker has feedback.
What
on
do you
girls.
wish girls
Right.
knew?
Ready?
Okay. Oh. Okay.
Super. Look, this is how
Where did you go?
underwhelmed.
Paris and Italy?
Paris and London.
Paris and London. Okay, I'm excited.
This is from London. This is from
Let's
London.
get the keychain.
A little
keychain?
red.
Oh,
And I'm gonna get you guys a little air plant to put inside it.
Oh, cute. That's so fun. I love it.
I thought it was gonna be like a little the telephone booth or something.
I got those too, but I liked those.
I love it. So
I
fun.
thought those were cuter because they're more you.
So
Union
cute.
Jack.
I feel like I need to drink something.
I know,
a
me
little
too. Pour your seltzer into it. Okay.
super fun. I got them in Camden Town.
Camden Town.
Camden Town.
You would love Camden Town.
I would.
Mm-hmm. It's the birthplace of punk. Everyone's like
Oh yes.
crazy.
I saw some fun
and-
pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, and like there's graffiti everywhere,
Jesse
and
would
like
love that too.
yeah, and there's all these open air markets and
He's 17
everything's.
today, guys.
I know it's so wild.
You know that song's like you're only
Yeah.
only 17.
Oh, I don't know that one.
I don't know what the rest of the song is. That's
Oh.
hard to remember.
That's a good one.
But
Your hair's cute today. A little.
oh, hey,
I like it. All right, I'm gonna go first.
let's go.
Are you ready?
Let's do it.
I
Let's do
will
it.
not
Let's do
fight
it.
you.
Huh?
I won't fight you to go
Okay.
first.
So I prepped you guys a little bit. I'm gonna read a little bit. So okay, this one is called "Lessons Learned Outside of Our Comfort Zones."
Mhm.
Although my notes say comfort zones because of spell check. I just noticed. Okay.
Welcome to the comfort zone, people.
All right, I thought it'd be fun to do a little podcast today talking about some lessons we've learned lately, doing some pretty big things outside of our regular comfort zones.
Yeah.
All three of us girls, I think in the month of June, was it
May?
Oh, May and June. Okay,
Yeah.
have gone on different versions of our own grand adventures, right? So they're all very different from each other, but they're our own versions of like this was a pretty big deal.
Big deals.
So, okay, so a whole bunch of us on our Plexus team were supposed to travel to Pennsylvania to do a training for Plexus called Gold School. I think 5 or 6 of us, and one by one, we all dropped off for whatever reasons, various reasons of like, shoot, I just can't make this happen. Until Rach was standing alone, and she was like, guys, I'm still gonna go. And she did it all by herself.
so
And
brave.
so she's going to talk about that. And I said to Kevin, of all the girls who I thought would have maybe done it by themselves if everybody else
Not
failed,
Rachel.
it was not you. And so I was
That's
just
fair.
so impressed and just so amazed, blown away, actually. And so that's what she's going to share about. Amber flew her entire family to Europe for a week and planned an entire itinerary of conquering practically every city and all the things.
Sucked the marrow. out
Sucked
of-
the marrow, and she gave us a virtual Marco Polo tour of all the things. So I just got this
That was my favorite.
an
like,
amazing
it
geography
was
lesson
So
and
fun. I was like, I wonder
literature
where she's
lesson.
gonna be.
Yeah.
I know. One day Rach was
So
like,
fun.
"Where are you?" And I was like, "I'm in a church. I
I know.
cannot
I
go."
totally still want Marco to a church.
Yeah.
Guys, look at this. And I completed an item that's been on my bucket list for several years, running a 200-mile relay race with a team of women called a Ragnar. Okay, none of these things fall under our typical mid-40-year-old day or week, right?
No.
And so all of these things took different forms of courage. All of these adventures involved us stepping into the unknown and doing things that we may or may not have been fully prepared to do, or really not knowing. I kind of know what's gonna happen, but not really. There's so many unknowns, and so I think it took a lot of bravery for all of us. And I would say that overall, I mean, there's always going to be glitches and things or whatever, but overall, I would say all three of us had a wonderful experience in each of our own individual adventures. And had we let fear or uncertainty get in the way, we would have missed out on a really beautiful adventure that made our lives richer and fuller. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
So the older I get, my phone keeps going off. The older I get, the more I want my life to be about doing brave things, about stretching myself in different ways, doing things that will make me a better version of myself. I also want to be about adventure. I want to be about living life to the fullest. And I want to have my kids and my family and my friends to see this and to want to play along with me. To be like, yeah, I want to do that too. Personally, I want my money saved to go more into adventure rather than things like the Ragnar in total cost me about $400 to $500, and so it was my own dollars. Do you know what I mean? But we had to rent the van, we had to pay for the race, we got matching shirts, the meals, the gas, all the things. But for me, $400 into something like that, this grand adventure, 4-day adventure, I would always pick over like a new rug or a new clothes for me. But I'm a little more rednecky that way. But I would rather
pick all of the things.
You know, all the things, yeah. I would take a smaller house with fewer bills and go on way more adventure than just accumulate stuff and things. Okay, so we're each going to take about 5-ish minutes, if we can, and share just a little blip overview of what our adventure entailed, why we wanted to do it, what we were hoping to get out of it, and lessons we learned from it. And in turn,
5 minutes.
Is she? You know what I mean? So, kind of why you wanted to do it. I'll just say it again. What it entailed, what it was about, why did you even want to do it, what you hope to get out of it, and the lessons you learned from it.
Okay.
So, and in turn, I hope this challenges you listeners and encourages you guys to maybe just think about something that you've always wanted to do, or something that's a little scary on your list that you know you're supposed to do. That was you, Rachel. You're like, I know I'm supposed to go.
Yeah.
You know, but you've let fear get in your way, or you want to be perfectly prepared for it until you step out into the water. And so we just hope that this encourages you just to throw caution to the wind and do that thing that you've always wanted to do. Okay? So for me, I'll go first. I saw someone post about a Ragnar race. I'd never even heard of such a thing before. Someone posted about it. I think it was like 2 or 3 years on Facebook. And I was instantly delighted by the concept. And so
only you would be.
So the idea of building a team of 10 to 12 people, cramming into a couple of 12 passenger vans, and really like conquering a goal, a running goal that no one could really do on their own from state to state, just sounded like so much fun to me. Like it sounded super hard but doable. It sounded like bragworthy, you know?
Totally
pride, my pride. But it just sounded like an epic bonding experience for a bunch of friends. And so I put it down on my bucket list for something I wanted to do before I think I said 45, because it just came up in my memories, the concept that I was like, I'm doing this before I'm 45. So I did it 46. Not too bad. And so for me, one of my fears is too strong of a word, but as a rule, I don't really spend a whole lot of time with like large groups of women. Like, it's not the world I know. I was raised with all men. I have only brothers. My home is mostly boys and men. I'm actually a little scared when Lennon becomes a teen. It's like a huge part of my prayer, like, Lord, please help her to still love me, help us to like always be bonded and always be close, because I don't know, the world of women is still a little foreign to me. And so whenever I'm in a big group of women, I always feel like Plexus convention, like the fish out of water, the redneck amongst the bunch. If ever I put on a dress for anything, which I do for conventions, I'm always like, I look like an idiot. So in turn, I act like an idiot.
That's
just
called
for the record,
anxiety.
I tried to dress her in one of my dresses, and she looked so feminine and beautiful. But then she didn't wear it because I think it was too feminine. and beautiful.
It was a little.
And it was you didn't feel you. But just for the record, you looked gorgeous.
Wow. I think when if you feel awkward, you act awkward. And I act
For
awkward
sure.
anyway, and
Yeah.
so
I do
anyway.
the same thing.
And I'm my poses are weird, and so I'm trying to grow in that
I
arena.
tried.
I know. I'm walking Ransom down the aisle for 8th grade graduation, and I'm gonna wear a sundress. I practiced in my shoes yesterday. They're not even a heel, but they're a little chunky, and I did turn my ankle. So I'm growing. I'm working on growing, but it's not my world. It's still. So, and so that was a big thing for me. It was a thing to think about, like, okay, I'm going to be with 12 women. And originally my plan was to build my own Ragnar team, where I build the women, I build the team, I'm the team captain, because I like a little bit of control. And so this for me was like, you know what? I was invited to join this team. I know most of these women. And so let go of the control. And
I'll do a Ragnar race with you. I'll learn to run just for you.
Okay, it was so fun.
I will drive.
You will drive. We need drivers for sure. So that was big for me, just releasing control. Like I wasn't in control. Like I was given the legs that I was gonna run. So that's good for me. That was growth for me, and it was really, really fun. And I also knew that with this particular group of women that I was amongst greatness. A couple of the women have qualified for the Boston Marathon, meaning not only do they have great endurance, but they have speed. Many of the women, just their life is they run races all the time. Whenever there's a race, they run it. And I am more like, if I can fit it into my life, and I do like a walk jog. Like, it's not like, it is my life, part of my life, but it's just less than most of those women. And so I knew that I would be, quote unquote, the weaker link. And so my pride would be, I could have said, you know what, no, if I'm not going to be one of the better ones, or if they're going to see that my time is less, then there's how embarrassing is that, I'm not going to do it. But I was like, you know what, no, I'm going to do it. And I think that was a huge lesson for me is just don't be afraid to surround yourself with greatness, because it'll lift
That's
you.
what I was thinking. It's
It'll
going to
lift your
lift you
lid,
up.
in every arena. So
high tide raise all boats.
high tide rises all ships. So I could have gotten in my head and let my pride have me back out. I also could have trained a little bit more, but that's another story.
You almost couldn't. Your whole life
is just kind of wild.
Was showing houses and standing and cheering your sons on. And you had no time.
Yeah, it's been just kind of like early mornings or right after school. So it surely wasn't, but it was fine. It was amazing. Okay, doing hard things together with people who are pushing for the same goal. I think in any arena of life, you've got this crazy huge goal. You can't do it on your own. It's like Plexus. When you want to get to the higher ranks of the company, you cannot do it on your own. And so if you're pushing toward a big goal with people, with a team, it bonds you in ways like nothing else does. We all had to run 3 back-to-back legs. We lived on about an hour and a half of sleep. One person, we were a team of 12, one person had to back out because her baby, because her baby was due. And so we had
her grandbaby.
Her grandbaby, yes, not her baby. Sorry.
She was not giving birth and running around.
Her grandbaby, yes. So we had to pick up those legs, so we were instantly a team of 11. So we had to absorb those legs. Probably our fastest and our best runner, 3 miles into her first leg, she fell off the pavement rises up. She was looking at her watch, clocking her time, and she flung off the pavement, twisted her ankle horribly. An ultra runner came behind and actually picked her up and offered to walk with her. Very kind. And he was running for time, and she's like, no, I think I'm okay if I just walk. But she had her ankle swollen, bruised, lived on ice whenever she wasn't running. She had some of our harder, longer legs, so we had to do a switch up and kind of try to give her a little bit shorter legs so she could rest her ankle, so we had to absorb the longer legs. Another girl in our first heat, it was very, very hot. We weren't used to riding in this heat because we don't have this heat yet in Maine, and so I think she got heat stroke or heat exhaustion, because she puked her way through the night, and poor little thing ran her second leg but could not run her third leg. So we, at 3 or 4 in the morning, there's 6 miles that we still have left to run, and we've all run our legs. So I ran 2 of the miles, Carrie ran 2 of the miles, Jill ran 2 of the miles. So just that whole piece of like doing more than you'd planned to do, doing more than you'd trained for, running in heat, running in the darkness. Like, it was all kind of scary, but it was when you do it together and you've got people
fun.
like
It
driving
sounds
beside you and
funnish.
yelling out the window, like, you've only got like 3 miles left, 2 miles left, it was delightful. So we all had to step up and do more than we thought we were going to do. We ran legs we weren't planning for. We ran completely unshowered. We ran in the heat we weren't used to. And so a huge thing for me is our mind is a crazy beast, right? And so mind over matter is so huge in every arena of life. But for me anyway, in a race, I battle my mind far more than I battle my legs. And so this was just one arena where it was just cool to challenge ourselves to do it together as a team, and really verbally even yelling out the windows, like, you're winning, even when we're winning. But I'll say the 12 of us, 11, sometimes 10, in our mid 40s, we got 3rd place in just a shout out to, this is where there's some women on our team who are beasts. We got 3rd place, and a husband clocked us. We were only 6 seconds per mile. So if we each run 6 seconds faster every mile, we would have been first. So that's pretty amazing for our category. Okay, so for me, 3 simple lessons from my adventure, but major life lessons. And I've kind of said them in the midst of my story. But 1, put yourself in the midst of greatness and don't be afraid to be the weakest link. Being around people who are better than you will always make you better. 2, mindset matters. What we think about, we become, right? for many of my miles, I listened to music that Rachel downloaded for me. And so she took me on a ride. But I was like, this is my friend who built me this playlist. And so I wasn't even thinking of a song. I was thinking of my friend back home, you know, who loved me and kind of makes me a little bit weepy. In my 3 a.m. race leg, Dawn, who had to bail, she ran hers virtually. And so she's like, I'm going to run your leg when you run it. So she set her alarm and we Marco Polo'd together. She ran on the treadmill and I ran through some farmland in the pitch dark. But we Marco Polo'd back and forth for that whole middle of the night leg. And it was special. Like, it was very sweet. It just felt very bonding. You know what I mean?
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so...
She gets major points for that.
Absolutely. I was like, would I have done that for her? I would like to think I would have. I'm not sure. 3 a.m.
Wow.
And so, but the mindset, like during every single leg, I intentionally put things in my mind that would make me stronger. Either a song from a friend or a literal Marco Polo to a friend the whole time. Do you know what I mean? And so, but that's a life lesson in everything, right? When you're doing hard things, like you become what you behold, and putting stuff in your mind to make you stronger and to take your focus off your tired legs, off your whatever. And number 3, maybe challenge yourself to do something that's kind of out of the box for you that feels a little scary and unknown. That's what this was for me. Like I said, originally I'd wanted to build my own team and be in charge of all the things. Instead, I joined a team, and had no say over anything, any leg that I ran, what time I ran, anything. But that was so good for me. And so if there's something in your life that intrigues you, or something you've always wanted to do, or something you know you should do, just don't let fear stand in your way. Surround yourself with people who will support you while you do it. Try to find some crazy friends who will do it with you, and then do it, right? My brain loves bucket lists and goals. I literally have a running list of things that I want to accomplish before I die. Or I want to, you were on my bucket list, Rachel. I will help Rachel shoot a deer this year. And so that's a bucket list thing, right? And so I feel like that kind of keeps life zesty. It keeps your brain engaged, and it keeps my body.
That's the wrong word.
I know. Well, in today's terminology, zesty is whatever. But in Amy's terminology, zesty is like, ooh, the zest of life.
Totally.
Yeah, keeps my brain engaged, and it helps my body from staying in complacency. Like if I want to run another marathon someday, I can't just live on the couch for the next 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So those are my life lessons and my takeaways from running a Ragnar.
Well done.
All right, you girls are up.
Go.
Okay.
Rach.
Okay, so while I was trying to listen, I was also trying to think through all the things, but gotta just get my mind in the right heart space. I started out knowing about Gold School, which I qualified for years ago, and kept getting invitations, which is so sweet and persistent from corporate. When you hit a rank, they will honor it and honor it and honor it until you hit your next rank, and you'll stay there even if your points aren't reflected or whatever. But I had wanted to go, and last year when I got invited, I really did want to go because we had just gotten back from convention, and I was in that buoyed mindset and felt really strong and all the things, but I wasn't able to because it was so far, and I had just gotten home.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'd have to hop on a plane and spend another $1,000 or whatever, and it was neither financially doable. But long story short, it was coming to Pennsylvania, in Philly, where I was actually born, and my heart wanted to go there for multiple reasons. One, because it was in the city of my birth, and I have a hard, sort of sad story that starts there. And I thought, wouldn't this be wonderful to have a victory in the city where as a family, some of our saddest years were spent, and some of the hardest for my mother. And so I think that's why my soul wanted to go there even more. And that's how God was bringing me there, was through Plexus, which I was like, that is so sweet of God to answer other prayers again through Plexus, which, 8 years ago, I was so sick and just praying, and had all my friends praying for me because I thought, I'm going to die. And God answered that prayer through Plexus. And this time it was a personal growth moment. So I was on this chat thread and all these girls were gonna go and we were getting excited, we were getting pumped, and I was like, you know what, I'll drive, or we'll wait. It kept changing and then all of a sudden, one by one, people were dropping out for every other reason that was valid. And then only I was left, and I was like, you know what? I'm going. I am going.
Who is this person?
Well, something had really flipped a switch in my heart, and God protects me in many ways when I decide to do things. He's like, oh, bless.
Bless her heart.
Oh, bless. And so, and he, in his sovereignty, he's already planned out all the other things. So for this plan, he had already given me Kurt.
How convenient.
And my sweet little boy who was excited to go on an adventure. And when I said, oh, I'm going, we first looked at rentals, and Kurt was going to rent me a fun car and all the things. But then a couple days into this, I think him and Henry had a chat, and they were like, Mom cannot drive to Pennsylvania by herself.
I
was a little concerned.
I was too.
Everyone was concerned.
When I heard this, I was like, what the flip is
I know, I was like,
how is she getting there? And then I saw one picture of Kurt, and my whole blood pressure just went,
Yeah. Well, mine too, because I was actually, in truth, I was trying to be super tough for my team, but in truth, I was starting to have some anxiety. And I was like, oh, Lord. Literally, Jesus, take the wheel. And so I left it for a couple of days, and Kurt said, you know, honey, I'm going to drive you. I want to drive you. I'm going to get the days off, and we're going to make this happen for you. And this could be so much long. This could be a whole episode.
I know.
But so I'll struggle through it. But like, it was the sweetest. They coming alongside me. My oldest was so excited to be home by himself, and he lived his best life for 3 days and wants to know when we're leaving again. But
I tried to get him to come spend the night with me. He's like, maybe.
I'm good.
Well, he's been independent at heart since he was 5.
Yeah.
And so he's just waiting to be on his own, you know. So, but Henry, who is my tough little nut of a child, but he is so dear. He's really coming to his own, and not once did he make this trip about him, not once. And Kurt was just the sweetest, and we drove and drove and drove and drove. It was a 13-hour drive there and 13 hours back, and we made it fun, and we stopped. But getting to Gold School by myself, doing that day, showing up alone, completely alone, without any of my team, my bigger team around me or my team underneath me, was scary. But I also felt so calm. I knew I had everybody praying for me. I knew I had my mom praying for me, and she's a prayer warrior. I knew my husband and my kids and my besties, and everybody was praying for me, and I felt so calm and strong. And even though walking into a building filled with you know, it's not, you go into instant family. I could walk up to anybody in there and be like, will you be my friend today, because I have nobody. I didn't have to say those words though at all.
I'm not sure if I would have done that. I'm so proud of you. Like, that's hard. That would be hard for me.
Yeah,
and I'm social, but again, a group of women.
Well, almost everybody.
You had a cute little gold dress on.
Did I?
You had like a skirt.
Oh yeah. I got dressed up. I try to. I'm like, I'm gonna play the part.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play the part here, whatever that looks like. If it's fancy, I'm gonna get fancy. If it's chill, I'll be chill. But like, I'm gonna play the part.
No, it's good.
And be what I have to be. And so, because I think what God had changed in my heart, getting ready for that moment, was it is time for you to finally take this seriously. Mm-hmm. If I ever want to move forward, I have to be a leader of leaders. And the only way to do that is to do scary things first. Because our breakthrough, our brave is someone else's breakthrough.
So true.
And so I had that in my head, and I was like, I am doing this for my team. I'm going to show people that even I'm going to show myself. I want to show up for myself. This whole year has been a lot. Even though my word has been less, God has wanted me to show up for him and for myself. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that, I'm almost 46 on Saturday. I'll be 46.
What?
And I know. So I was like, I have to show up for myself to take care of my body, because I want to make it till I have grandbabies, and I want to have an active life. I want to be in my garden till the day I die, and that means that I have to take care of myself and all the things. But it was really scary walking into that convention or that symposium center by myself. But as soon as I had my name tag on, which took a while because I wrote my name on my name tag and then walked away from it. I took a picture of my name tag and then walked away from my name tag and didn't realize until 10 minutes later. But I went into this little corner where I saw a few other women who looked like they were alone. And I was all on my own. And God gave me instantly, I wasn't in there for 3 minutes, you guys, not even 2 minutes. And already I had friends. And they stayed with me. We stayed with each other. We linked arms and stayed with each other through that whole day. From the minute I walked in to the minute I walked out. We had new besties. We sat at the table together. We did the little games that we had to do together. We took notes together. We took pictures together. We did all the things, and I had an instant little family. We had a great table. And one of those girls, it would be both of them, I think, but the other one works and has a normal, we have, 9 to 5 job, so she can't. But one of these girls that I met, I still get up with early in the morning, and we're doing work together even though we're not on the same team.
I love it.
And she and I are both like learning from each other all the little gaps it's an amazing testament to God's provision, and that's even bigger in so many ways than what I could address in a few minutes. But the things I hope to learn was everything that I haven't learned yet as far as doing this business goes, and so many of those gaps were filled. Just doing it was the thing for me.
Yeah.
Just doing it. Just driving all those hours, making a weekend out of it, spending the money, spending the time, investing in other people, investing in myself, and doing the reels, doing the work, listening, taking notes, taking pictures. I got to meet the top people in our company and give them hugs and have pictures with them, and because it was a very intimate setting, there was only about 200 women there instead of 6,000 who are normally at our conventions. And so it was so special. I felt special. They do special so well. There's always presents waiting for you at the table. There's always snackies and waters and seltzers and coffees and delicious gourmet food. And it's like, I felt completely spoiled. And that whole thing was free.
Yeah.
I mean, getting there cost us dollars, but that was free. And so it's like, they just love on you. But the thing itself was the victory for me. The thing itself was the bravery, the whole thing itself. And God blessed it. It's so much more. I went and visited the house. We made a long weekend out of it, and we had a whole day where we got to just explore Philly. And I wanted to see the house where I was a newborn, and I saw it was a little a big apartment building actually. And then I went and saw the row house in a sea of, it's a whole borough that's just filled with impoverished row houses. And that's where I spent about half of my little years, so 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And there's just an alley. There's nowhere to play. It's just the row house, and about twice the size of this table of a yard. There's the little stoop. I recognized the house. My heart could feel the house. Kurt was driving, and he was like, I legitimately am afraid. He was like, I do not want to be here. And I was like, it's fine. Like, I felt different than he did. He was like, I'm scared.
Oh.
And Henry was just like, Mom, I cannot believe that you lived here. And I was like, I know, isn't it wonderful how God can... Well, the beauty of that was also that he took care of my mom when she had 7, good Lord, 5 littles.
2 kids came out of nowhere.
5 littles.
A family of 7, though.
Yes, that's right. That's why we're doing
okay.
7.
Maybe that's
that's
my subliminal brain.
Yeah.
That was when she had 5 little children, was there without a yard and without a safe space.
It's
and
amazing.
when she looks back, she's like, I don't know. And that's where I learned to ride my bike in the back alleyway. And when you're kids, you don't have
Were there other little kids there? Were you guys?
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, there was a kid that threw rocks at us every day, and my mom was like trying to befriend him and share the gospel, but he still threw rocks at us. So she'd have to like hurl us in, because eventually we were
Jesus
like,
loves you.
jerk. Yeah, jerk. There was another kid named Joey who his dad would let him he was so little. He was our little, like 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. He would roam the streets of Philly. He was unparented, and then his dad, who was a drunk or something, would just every night at 7 he would, or at dusk when it was getting dark, he would just yell, "Joey!" And that would be the cue for his son to come home.
Yeah.
But this kid was little, and so, but yeah, it was rough. It was truly inner city living, and going back to that in a place of personal victory. And I mean, I took a picture of myself in front of my old house, and I was like, I look so gorgeous and so calm and settled in myself. And I really felt that way, even though it was raining. It looked more squallery than ever, but I was like, this was my home, and this is where part of my life started, and God has brought me all the way back to this same place in a totally different place.
So amazing. Full circle.
Full circle. This was minutes away from where our meeting was, and so it was very cool. I felt like it was God walking with me, and I think it had to be alone.
Yeah. Yep. Some things I agree with that.
If I was with you or my team,
Well, you
I would have
would've
been
done
so distracted.
You wouldn't even have gone, probably.
You
We would have done
wouldn't
go to school and come home. Gone shopping. You
right.
wouldn't have gone
Oh, to my
on-
house.
Yeah,
you
you
mean? I
wouldn't
know.
have
It would have
done
been so different, and it would have been not a personal victory.
Yeah.
It would have been like, oh well, I'm just gonna let Amy take care of me.
Well, what she said was in the beginning, if you go, I'll go, I'll just ride your coattails. From there to, I'm gonna go by myself.
Yeah.
And so that was huge.
It was huge, and it was all God.
Yeah.
And I have goosebumps. I think I'm
Yeah.
a little bit cold, but I actually have goosebumps from just feeling like that. It's a victory story.
Such
It's
a victory story.
and it's ongoing. And I was like, from this point on, even if I'm slogging through muck, I want to hold up my torch. I don't want to just hold up my team's torch, meaning my team's beside me. You know, it's like you have been there above me this whole time, but I was like, I am ready to start carrying my own torch
So
separately.
good. So good.
And when I think of my team, I'm picking out my diamonds,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm going to be a leader of leaders.
Mhm.
I will be a diamond, you will be a diamond, and I'm picking these, and I'm like, this is going to be something that I work for the rest of my life.
So good.
You know, come on, May. So
Love it.
all the things.
Okay. So good.
All
Love it.
right, mine is very different. So Peter and I, when we first got married, he was in the Air National Guard, and we got to do. It was pre 9/11, and we got to do, and that's when your 2 weeks were in fun places. They're not that way anymore, but we got to do his 2 weeks in the south of France. And the Air National Guard let me come with and stay with and all this stuff. And so Peter and I,
And my dad was there.
Oh my word.
he gave us
She
tours.
hung
It
out
was
with
very
my dad.
awkward.
Oh my
He made me
goodness.
kiss Peter in all these random places. It was wild.
Yep, that
But
tracks.
yeah, that tracks. So Peter and I did this amazing trip. I was of poverty and abuse, and I had never ever traveled anywhere outside the United States except for our honeymoon, where Peter had taken me to Mexico, and so I got to go on this grand adventure. We took a month. We did London. We did and we lived in France for a month, and then we came back. So our children have grown up with these stories about our time in France. And we've always wanted to take our kids to Europe, and finances are crazy. It all started in 2020. We had planned a trip to take Emma to London and Paris for her senior graduation present, and then we were going to kind of save and do it for each of the kids. Literally the day before we were supposed to fly out, all borders were closed because of COVID, and that trip was canceled. Then inflation.
Oh my word.
And everything exploded. So our 3 tickets, round trip tickets, now equated to 1 ticket. And so we were like, so we started, so we started saving and saving and saving. Well, while we were saving, Izzy graduates from high school, and then saving and saving and saving. And now Parker, this Sunday, is graduating from high school. And now Thomas is going to be a junior in high school. So we kind of made a group decision that instead of just taking one of them, we were going to take all of them. It was the best choice we have ever made. And even Emma, who was a little kind of like, we had to work through that this wasn't her trip. Her trip was canceled because of COVID. This was a new trip. And we did 4 days in Paris and 4 days in London. And
She took us on a Marco Polo tour.
It was so
everywhere.
much
It
fun.
was
so
amazing.
But the thing that was so interesting, I think Peter and I had a lot of fears. Our, teenagers are awesome. And I'm so thankful. There were a lot of times when I saw people in strollers at the Louvre, I was like, praise the Lord that we did not bring children traveling when we were they were young like this.
I can't imagine.
Can't either.
But but it's also hard because they're such different personalities and they all live very independently. As your children get older, they just live more independently, and we were going to be crammed. We were going to be crammed in an appartement in France, and we were going to be crammed in a hotel, 3 different hotel rooms in London. And they were sharing rooms. They have not shared rooms since they were very young.
That's smart, 3 rooms.
And so we really just put a lot of things to prayer. Peter and I talked to contingency plans. What if
contingency? That's
what if
so good.
all the shiz hits all the fans? Like, what are we gonna do? And the Lord just had his hand on it, and it was one of the most remarkable things for our family. We had so much fun. They sucked the marrow out of all the bones of Paris and London. We had an intense schedule. Peter
really did.
Peter was incredible. He planned every single day. I think
I was like, where can I get my next croissant?
Yeah, there was a lot.
That happened. There was
were lots of croissants, and they, we gave them boundaries. We gave them we'll pay for these things, but there's some things you're going to need to pay for.
That's
they paid for
smart.
all their transportation.
They paid for their transportation?
So they paid for any time you used the tube or the metro.
Okay.
So anytime, when you had to, any time of those kinds of things they paid for. Whenever we were traveling days, they paid for their own food. If we were in different places where it was a lunch thing, we'd be like, okay guys, go find yourself lunch. If there were food trucks.
Just your top 3. I'm assuming you didn't do this for Thomas.
Oh no, Thomas too.
Does he have a job?
Yeah. They all worked at the Rack this summer and the winter, and
wow.
so they
Okay.
this was they knew
It was
they
planned.
So you paid for the hotels and the airfare
and most major meals. If we sat down at a restaurant, we paid for it.
That's kind of brilliant.
So because what it did, they've known about this we've been talking about it, and then at Christmas we made it official, and we told them, you are not getting very many Christmas presents, and their presents were very small. They've known they had the opportunity to work and save, and we wanted this to be for them. We wanted them to feel a little bit of a pinch of what travel really is. Because if you go and your parents pay for everything, you're thinking this is the life for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Or 85 treats a day.
Yeah.
Wherever you go.
Yeah,
Can I
right.
have this ice cream? Can I have this?
Yeah,
Can I have
so-
this? Yeah.
But it was, and so we were really curious to see how they all would be and handle. And it was so good. In fact, at one point I was walking in the Louvre. I'm in the Louvre with my children.
I'm not even gonna try.
And
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
Parker's standing next to me, and he puts his arm around me. He's like, "Mom, never buy me a Christmas present again."
Oh.
And I was just like, and to see them desire the culture, and they grew up hearing about it. They grew up hearing about France, and they grew up. I speak French. I taught French. I taught all of them French. I was all of their French teachers at one point in their middle school career or high school career. For them to see the things I was talking about. Their dad has been to London. Peter's been to London 4 or 5 times, and so hasn't Peter's mom. It's her favorite place. They're Noni, and so to be at the place, they felt like they were part of this big special secret that this formable memory of their childhood, even though it just was through stories. It was so breathtakingly scary for us, Peter and I. We're in airports, and we're okay, here we go. We're navigating the tube. In Paris, I'm the only one who can speak French, and they're all staring at me while I'm speaking French, which makes you even more nervous. And I was like, will you guys go away? I want to talk. And they're like, what are you saying? What are they? And as soon as you start speaking English, they speak English back to you. But one point we had trouble with the metro tickets in Paris, and I was like, Peter's like, it's you. You've got to do this. And I was like, okay.
This is your moment.
And so I'm speaking to this man about our tickets, and he's understanding, and I was trying, he was speaking back, and it was, I was shaking because I'm like, this guy knew no English, and if we messed this up, another time we were trying to get to another place and the woman spoke no English, and so I had to like navigate how to get us to Versailles, and that's stressful. It's stressful, but the Lord was really super gracious. And then when we went to London, I think the most emotional, this is so cheesy, but like we went to every history. There were 2 moments that were really seeing my children in the Musée d'Orsay, which is my favorite museum of the world. It's all the French Impressionists. It's everybody that I've grown up. I used to have Monet calendars, the pictures on my wall in high school. That's how much I love French Impressionism. I took an entire class on French Impressionism when I was in college.
This is so revealing my redneckness. I'm like, what would my kids do in that museum? And I'd be like, I'm gonna jump in that fountain. It's hot.
Yeah. They would not. I think they would
Where are
be.
the snacks in here?
So, to see them there was really emotional. I always get emotional. There's this one painting that Monet does of the lady with the umbrella that always reminds me of Mama D. And so I sent that to Ray Ray and to Mama D and said, Mama D, look, I'm looking at you. And like, because that's always because there's like little children in the background of the field. And that was really like, it took my breath away. Like it took my breath away. It took my breath away when we were in the Louvre. Emma wanted to see this statue really bad. She knew the whole history of it being, it was stolen by the Nazis, and they found it in this dank dungeon, locked up, and a soldier, when he walked in and he saw it, there's a picture of that, and he thought it was a real woman. And like our whole family went on the Louvre is one of the most confusing museums in the world, and you could live there for like 6 months and still not see all the art, but like our whole family rallied to find help Emma find that statue. And like we all just like delighted in her delight of seeing it. And so that was so beautiful. And then in London we went and saw where Harry Potter was made. We went to the Universal Studios, and my family are Potterheads, and Peter and I started reading. I'm dyslexic. I never read books as a child, and I was never read to. And so it was really super important to me that I would change that. That was one of the cycles I was going to break. And so Peter and I, when we were dating, he found the book, and it was because it was a kid's book, I could read it well and not get flubbed up. And so we read through the entire series. We'd stay up late and wait for the next one to be released. And then when my children each turned 11, because that's how, well, and they were 11 turning 12, just like Harry, I would start reading them Harry Potter. And I would read it out loud, and then until their reading level was that they couldn't wait anymore, and then they would devour the rest. And so to be there with them, and like, I cried. It was like, I did not cry at the Louvre. I cried there. I cried
at the Eiffel Tower.
I did not cry at the Eiffel Tower, even though that was incredible, and I was there when it was lighting up. But there was something like, Parker bought a book for his children there, and I was just like, and like they all chipped in and bought me a necklace that says "always," which is one of the statements that's used in the book. They were honoring their childhood, and for me, it was like, I did it. You know what I mean? Like I had broken those cycles. Like my children love each other. They love me. They love their dad. They choose to be together. They were buddies with each other. They, and they went on this adventure, and it was breathtaking.
You guys all looked amazing. You all looked so well dressed. All the kids were so well dressed.
Yeah, they took it very seriously.
They took it very seriously. It was a little bit more creative in France. It was more subdued. And I was just like, look at these kids.
Yeah, they look like they belonged there.
Yes.
Oh,
they
they'll
didn't
love
look like
that.
tourists.
They will receive that feedback.
Yeah.
Emma had a
beautiful.
Emma had an outfit for every.
I loved her.
Tell.
And I love the pictures that one of you took. It must have been in that punk.
Yes.
With all the graffiti and stuff. I'm like, that is an awesome picture. Yeah.
Oh, I know one of Izzy.
Izzy and Emma.
There was one of her with all the graffiti.
Yeah.
And like we all got to do the things that we loved, and we honored each other as we did the things that we loved. And it was a ton of money. Like we saved for years.
How much money would you say each kid spent? Like on their food and treasures or whatever?
I think they all spent about between $200 to $400.
Okay, I mean that's not insane
No.
at all.
I
I
mean,
thought you were gonna say 1,000.
no way.
I thought you were gonna say
Once
4,000.
you get to Europe, Europe is actually, like France in particular, there's actually a law in France that you can't charge more for a croissant or a baguette than a certain amount. It's a French law because French people have crazy laws, and so like our breakfast.
So does America.
Our
But
breakfast.
weirdly.
Our breakfast at the boulangerie, we would get like 5 or 6 croissants, 3 baguettes, fresh squeezed, like with the press orange juice, and it was $20.
Okay.
Like it
And
was.
that fed all of you?
It fed us well.
Kurt's parents who travel the world often say that England is expensive.
London is
very expensive. And he was like, go there first because everywhere else will feel a lot cheaper.
Yeah, that's true. That's good.
Yeah, and it was, and that's the only thing I think we would have done differently. The pace in Paris is just different. They believe in rest, and so
so many cultures do.
they love it, and so like you were looked down upon, or you were instantly known as American if you are drinking and walking or eating and walking. Like you sit at a cafe and you drink your cappuccino, and then you get up and you do your things. You sit like there's no
So
like
they don't do a lot of these.
nothing.
Not even a water bottle? Like
No.
What if you're walking like miles and it's hot?
You stop along the way and drink something.
Nah.
Nah.
So, I mean, I think the things that Peter and I learned was it's worth the risk. Like it was, it's worth saving. It's worth like pinching pennies and doing that.
It's
Like,
worth the risk. One time I pulled her, I was like, don't you feel like there's a lot?
no, it was. We felt very. I mean, there was two
Like,
places.
no.
There were 2 places I didn't feel super duper safe. But I was with my Clydesdale husband, my wrestling champ son, and my other young son that's a tank. Like
Right.
I felt fine. The girls felt fine.
Yeah.
In Paris, right after dark, underneath the Eiffel Tower can get a little bit sketchy, just pickpockety. But like, we never got pickpocketed. Camden Town, I felt super safe, even though people were like, "Oh, that's so scary, the punks." And I was like, actually, they were lovely, and everything was lovely there. And the punks. But like, it was so fun. Like Parker and Emma got Doc Martens at the first Doc Marten store ever in the world.
I thought you were going to say they came home with like tattoos in the punk town.
We talked about maybe getting a family tattoo, but it was just not. Everybody wasn't on board. And so we have to wait until everyone's on board. And then I got my family, Peter surprised me with a Burberry scarf from the original Burberry store on Regent Street, which
Again,
was
the conversation that went back and forth between these two over a scarf from Burberry, I was like, I don't even
it was
know what's
wild,
happening
and
here.
I looked like a homeless person in there. So it was so funny. But I'm like, I also think same thing, Amy. When you will always be shocked of how your children will be. Like my kids, they knew. I think it resonated with what we were giving them, and they rose to the event. There was a couple times when we got a little hangry in transitions.
Sure.
That things got a little edgy. Some interesting things about our personality as a family came out that we are having a debrief family conversation about, which was beautiful. Like it showcased itself that we all have this sin set that we need to work on as a family of receiving feedback and not being humble. And
family is a weird thing, right? Because you don't choose your family.
Nope.
And so you'll choose your spouse according to like the personalities that attract and like whatever, but like your family is what you get. And so it's such a practice arena for the world.
It
and
really
for people
is.
in relationship.
And it was really interesting to see that work out. But Thomas got sick the last day, and like the kids kind of rallied around him. It was a really beautiful thing. So I would say that like, and my kids are wild. Like I do not have refined children. They are barefoot, wild. I mean, one lives in a van down by the river. Like we are a wild bunch. They eat like troughs, like shoveling food. Like we're not, and they all rised up because I think they felt like
that's what I could tell from the pictures.
they were rising up to the level of what was given to them. There was a moment where I think they realized that like each of them went to their dad individually and was like, "Dad, this is amazing, thank you." And Peter was like, "Actually, guys, he said it in front of everyone, which made me a little embarrassed. He's like, this is your mom. Your mom has been working weddings for 2 years straight, saving this money, like all the money, and like working every Saturday.
Yeah.
And they all like, you know, because Peter's a breadwinner in our family, so they all of their faces they're like, what, Mom? And like, which made me cry. And like, so I think like they realized the gift that we were giving them.
Yeah.
And then it was so fun because I think they were like, okay, where are we going next?
Yeah.
But not like, when are we going next year? But like they saw the depth of it. And so we're already planning our next trip. And
Okay.
I love
I think
Do you have a destination?
we're kind of playing between two. I think we're going to either do Venice and Rome and then the south of France because they need to see the south of France. That's where Peter and I spent most of our time. Or we're going to do Germany and Switzerland. So we're kind of bouncing between the two. And if we do one, then we'll do the other next. But I think we're now praying and gonna start squirreling away money that I think we're just gonna start traveling Lord willing, every other year we'll go away.
Fun.
That's something that you can always, I mean, I think it was, Henry was 4 when we decided that we were going to do whatever we could to travel at least once a year as a family. And there's just the 2 of them. And so I was like, it doesn't have to be super extravagant. Like, that's extravagant.
It was obnoxiously extravagant. Like, I'm not gonna.
But traveling with your family, your core, is so
Bonding.
It's very bonding, and it's so sweet, and there's nothing like it. There's nothing that can replicate what happens when you travel, because inevitably traveling brings its own adventure, and you have to be up for that, and it tests your personality, your character, and you all have to do this together. And then it's just you're doing this just for fun. There's not a whole lot of things in our life where we get to literally be like, from this point on when we leave to when we get back, we are just gonna have fun.
Yeah.
We are gonna have an adventure.
Peter and I were
gonna
talking
play,
about that today. What a beautiful reset it was.
Yeah.
Like for him, like his work, like he, and in fact at one point we were on a bus, literally we took buses, trains, planes, automobiles, all the things. We did all the traveling of all the things. And he got an email and he answered it, and his whole team were like, do not respond one more time. You enjoy this. So like he even had the backing of his boss, his
good.
regular boss, all his people underneath him, like everybody. It was a beautiful reset. I forgot how to eat like that. Like there's something about how we Americans eat garbage. We were we were having so much fun looking at like the ingredients of like their food. It's Coke, but it's French Coke, and we turn it over and there'd be 4 ingredients, you guys. 4. Their ketchup, we turn it over and we look, and it was 3 it was tomatoes, vinegar, salt. We were like, okay, this is why we are all fat and sick. So anyway, this is what I learned, and this is what I'd say. It is worth the risk to do, same thing as Amy, to do an adventure, to take your family and leave. It doesn't have to be Europe.
I was gonna say it can be
you can
be
be
your family
camping. It can
but
be,
you get away from home
and away from
life,
all the things, and it has to be a way where you have to commune. Like we go camping, but we go camping with other people, so they even still get their friends.
We go camping off grid where there's no cell service.
Yes, which is why.
That's the right way to do it.
So like, but even so, it's a place where you cannot connect, so that you can press into each other. I also say it's always a risk to go someplace where you don't know where you're going and you have to figure it out. It's worth the risk to go someplace where it's a different culture, and that could be like, we live in Maine and the South has a different culture, or we live in, like go to Canada where
Trust me, there was a different culture in Philly.
Yeah, like right, that is so like, but going someplace where you are the minority, you are the difference, you're the odd man out, because it clinches you guys together, but it also gives you a worldview that is so precious for your children to realize how big the world is, because often we live in this bubble and we don't see what it's like, like they have never seen people like they saw. So it was great.
So good. Okay. So that's our encouragement to you guys. Do crazy things. Step out of your comfort zones. Be brave. And we've got one life, guys. One wild and crazy life. Go live it.
Woohoo! Travel.
Well, that was not 20 minutes.
No, it was an hour. Just shy, but it's fine.
I don't think we can make that into 2, though.
I don't think we can either.
Want me to stop your phone?
Yes, please.
My old lady. Legs. Oh, yes, this is Mo, but I see all of us.